Hello and welcome to the programme. Ukraine's Privatbank has won an appeal in a London court. Now, the bank claimed that its former owners, oligarchs Ihor Kolomoysky and Hennadiy Boholiubov, withdrew vast amounts of money that led to the recapitalisation of about $5.5 billion in 2016. And now the oligarchs must pay the bank a total of £10.9 million by November the 12th. Now, I'm pleased to say, to talk more about this particular case, we welcome to our studio Yevhen Nevmerzhytskyy. He's an economist. Hello, thank you so much for coming in.
Good evening.
So we've had some very big developments actually in this particular case. We want to talk about the exact amounts of money that are involved because it does get quite confusing. But firstly, I want to talk about a meeting which happened this week at the presidential administration. We could show on screen in a second. It was the Chief of Staff, Andrei Bogdan, and members of the G7 ambassadors. And at that particular meeting, we can see on the screen in a second, it was agreed and the presidential administration said that the decision on the selling off Privatbank will not happen for sure, despite whatever the courts decide in the future. So do you think this is quite a big development that actually the presidential administration here have said that they're going to overrule any sort of court decision?
Okay, the most important thing is that Privatbank is going on and it continues serving clients and it seems everything is okay with Privatbank and code solutions, and all this struggle we are talking about is beside the work of the bank, and it is good. And I hope very much that clients will be happy all the time. Take into consideration what kind of solutions, code solutions will be in the future. And that is
That's an important point, actually.
Yes, it's the most important. So for our economy and financial system, everything will be okay. Nevertheless, the state will win in this game, or former owners of the bank will take back their bank. I can't say that there is important development in this case. The further we go, the more complication we can see. Of course, this question is very important, but on the one hand, our interest of the state and justice of former court solution regarding nationalization of the bank. On the other hand is interest of two private people, former owners of the bank. And I again would like to repeat that interests of clients of this bank will be saved in any case.
Yeah. And now it's quite interesting when you look at the figures that's involved in this particular case, because the recapitalisation, as we mentioned, back in 2016 was to the tune of 5.5 billion, which it was a huge decision to make. And it was seen abroad as a very positive decision to make to stabilise the bank. But at the same time, the bank has been ordered in this appeal court to pay £10.9 million by November. Million pounds, that's right, by November the 12th. So can you explain a bit more about the figures which are involved in this?
Yes, it's very easy. So let us compare these two figures. London's court decided, so in accordance with its solution, so Kolomoysky or former owners of the bank have to pay to the bank 10 million of pounds. I believe that former owners of the bank are happy to pay this amount, and just 10 million, but the amount regarding recapitalization is $5 billion US dollars. It's completely different
well, exactly.
amount.
So what's happening here?
Okay, the thing is, can we trust to this figure that really this breach in banks' cash flow, $5 billion US dollars, was caused by illegal actions of former owners of the bank? It is the question, and it is most important question. And as soon as former owners of the bank would like to have a solution of London court, it means that they are interested to be protected by the court, the trust for which has highest level. So everybody trusts to London's court. And there are other experts, I mean Pricewaterhouse audit company, reputation of which is more expensive than all private bank. They audited this bank, and in accordance with the report, so bank was serving its clients in accordance with law, and so on and so on, so balanced. And National Bank, if you remember, kick off this audit company from Ukrainian market. And personally, myself, I believe to Pricewaterhouse, as everybody, as international community believe them. So for me, this breach or hole in the balance of Privatbank, $5 billion US dollars, is a kind of amount which has to be investigated and openly.
And this will be done by the London court, or are there different courts which are involved in this particular, or you're not sure?
It is a case inside of Ukraine. Of course, the full stop will be put by our courts, and I believe that it will be find some consensus, some agreement between the state and former owners of the bank.
Now, it's interesting that you said that there might be some agreement, because I remember there was an interview, I think it was in the Financial Times in September, where the Prime Minister said that they were looking, and perhaps it was a mistranslation or something, but some sort of compromise. And this particular word, compromise, really set off alarm bells in the States, because obviously there's the IMF program that Ukraine really relies on for financing at the moment. And obviously there was the photo as well that was on the presidential office website with Kolomoysky and the president, Volodymyr Zelensky. And again, this was another sign that perhaps there was some backdoor dealing that could have been going on. We can't say it was for certain, but it could have been happening. Can you tell us a bit about what the IMF, you think, are thinking at the moment about Privatbank and the economic stability in general?
Okay, the IMF demand, I would say, are the same as demands of Ukrainian society. So the main thing is that Privatbank should keep servicing clients, and it should keep stability. It is the main thing. Well, and it is, I will repeat, the main demand. So I don't believe that IMF demands, so in any case you should not put back this nationalization. It is not the business of IMF. IMF is interested for repaying its loans to Ukraine, and it is the task of IMF. And IMF cannot be involved in our code solutions and so on and so on.
So no, of course, but at the same time, they're looking at confidence levels in Ukraine. When you're talking about billions, which are involved in the IMF program, obviously they're not going to be influential in the decisions which are going to be happening, but they're going to be a very observant outsider.
Of course, amount of next IMF program is about $5 billion US dollars for 5 years, and this amount is not very big for Ukrainian economy, as we were talking before. The main thing with relationship with IMF of Ukraine is the good signal for investors and so on and so on. And speaking about Privatbank, the influence of Privatbank here on Ukrainian economy is much bigger than program with IMF. And again, I will repeat the third time, the main issue is to make things like this bank should keep servicing in a stable way its clients.
And it does.
Yes. So it is the most important issue.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I think when people look at the banking situation in Ukraine from abroad, they don't look at just the economics, which is your speciality, but they look at the rule of law, they look at the courts, they look at economic growth as well. So do you think that perhaps court cases like this, they don't really have a significant impact on economic growth and foreign investment, that sort of thing?
Of course, to attract foreign investments, we have to have good investment clients, and here we have very many aspects. And Privatbank is one private case. Of course, court system, general corruption in Ukraine, and all these things focus on one issue: protection of investors. Home investors and foreign investors. So foreign investor will not come to Ukraine if they will not be sure that the investments are safe in Ukraine. And I think that it is too much talking about this case, and I'm sure that compromise will be found, because from the side of state were very many violations of Ukrainian law, including privatization and I mean nationalization of this bank, and it is a solution of the court. So nobody doubt that this nationalization was made with many violations.
But it had to be done though at the time, or do you think that wasn't the case?
Okay, speaking about let's say several words about general situation on banking system of Ukraine and financial system. We saw then big banking fall. So about 100 banks were bankrupt and suffered their clients, and the Privatbank was in very difficult financial situation, general situation for financial system. It was very difficult to keep serving clients, and I would say shareholders, former private shareholders, took forces to save the bank. Of course, they use their own money, and until nationalization, the bank kept servicing its client. So I would say that nationalization of national bank of Privatbank was the cause of general not stable situation in banking system of Ukraine, and the fault for this situation, not stability of banking system, is on the state or on the government, and
the government at the time.
Of course, and somebody have to be responsible for these issues. I'm not doubt that former owners of the bank not we're making everything legally. I think, of course,
your opinion?
It's my opinion. Of course, I'm just expressing only my opinion. So I think, of course, they took some money from the bank. I accept that there were not very good agreements and so on and so on and so on. But it's their part. But on the other part is the state, which made very many violations as well. So
and no doubt these investigations will continue. That's all we have time for. Thank you so much for coming into our studio today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Yevhen Nevmerzhytskyy, an economist. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more here on UATV.